The very word secrecy is repugnant in a free and open society.
You're in violation of secure communication procedures, Condor.
So we just went ahead and fixed the glitch.
There is no America. There is no democracy.
Our fifth objective, a new world order.
There are no nations. There are no languages. There are no Russians. There are no Arabs. There are no third worlds. There is no
Vast
West.
right-wing conspiracy.
What do you call it when the assassins accuse the assassin?
A new world order.
Thank you for plugging in to the Stones Unturned podcast.
Well, just a second there, Professor. We fixed the glitch.
I'm your host, Professor Thomas Henry Horan.
He reads everything.
Oh, hello there, you lucky devils. You better bet your bippies he reads everything. He is indeed Professor Thomas Henry Horan. In this, you are indeed plugged in live, indeed, to the Stones Unturned podcast. Hi, Shane. Hi, Creepy Crawl. Hi, Scott. Yeah, this looks a lot better, doesn't it? Just turning the camera around so it looks... Oh, you know what? I can see... Because I can see myself. Yeah, that looks... Well, this is kind of cool. This is kind of cool in its own way. Hi, Scott. So here's the Scoopio. What's going on? What's going on now is, oh bloody hell! There we go. Remember Monday? Was it Monday? I said the next episode would be ready Tuesday. Is that right? Or did I say that Sunday? Anyway, I was going to add a couple of slides about Virginia Giuffre to the next episode. A couple of slides turned into over 100 slides. You won't believe what you are going to see. So I pre-recorded the episode again, and it's going to start streaming live on the premium channel. I need to check it right now, see what's going on. At 6:30. It will play, it will loop all night long. And then by tomorrow morning, I should have the Search Inside the Video version posted to a new blog post, which I was a couple days late getting to again this week. I feel terrible because you need to have time to absorb this information. So it will live premiere at 6:30 on the premium website. Click the link in the description of this YouTube video and get signed up. You're missing it. You're really missing it. And you're really going to be missing it. Because then Sunday's episode should be on time. I'll have that pre-recorded in time. It's Super Bowl Sunday, so it will live premiere at 2 p.m. I'll pregame about 1:30 p.m. Sunday, and we'll do the live premiere. Those are nice for me because I get to watch the audience watch the episode, which is kind of helpful. And fun. And I can comment. You've left a million comments on the website that I have not been getting alerts, and I haven't seen any of them. I'm like, people are so stunned by what they've seen. They're speechless. No, there are hundreds of comments I haven't seen. I will get to those as quick as I can. So Sunday's episode, it gets spooky. Real spooky. Sunday's episode. You'll see the rest of how this operates. You'll see the fine details of how this thing operates and how it connects to other cells. You'll see that Sunday. Oh, for tonight, I forgot to include, okay, so you still get a cherry on top of Sunday's episode. The Aaron Rodgers stuff. The stuff about Aaron Rodgers and his family. Wait till you see it. Wait till you see it. Maybe I'll put it at the end of the episode instead of the beginning. It'll be like a coda. It'll be like a Beatles false ending or a Rick and Morty false ending. And then you have this coda at the end. I will. That's exactly what I will do. Because this episode is the big one. It's the big one. Then we start going back around the circle again, back to Manson, back to Son of Sam, back to Zodiac, back to John Bonet. We keep going around and around and around and seeing how it all ties together. Now that we have this foundation, finally. But I thought I better at least take a quick sniff around Virginia Roberts Giuffre. At least because Maria Farmer's background turned out to be fascinating, remember? A couple episodes back. So I thought I better at least take a sniff, and OMG, wait till you see it. So that will live premiere on the premium site at 6:30 p.m. Get signed up. Hi, Pat Thomas. Hi, Scott. I think I've said hi. And at 6:30 p.m., if you have subscribed to the premium YouTube membership, that episode will go live to you or be available to you at 6:30 p.m. I will make that available to you. And then the search inside the video version won't be available till tomorrow morning. But the live stream will just play on a continuous loop all night long. I discovered that feature. Well, Creepy Crawl, wait till you see about her family. I keep telling you people this is multi-generational. Wait till you see. I couldn't believe it all day yesterday. It was just slide after slide after slide. Hi, Seabines. Let me look and see what's on the premium channel now. Then I want to start doing on the premium site, the only place we can do it. I'll start doing some just podcasts. I'll be in the studio working on episodes, and we'll be listening to like 13th floor elevators or something that, who cares? Who cares about copyright? It's only me and the 47 Stone in, and nobody's ever going to hear it. And we can talk about that while I'm also doing an episode. Because I usually listen to that kind of stuff when I'm working on episodes anyway. And you can watch me work on episodes. Not a big thing, not pre-gaming on YouTube or anything. Just do it. Just hang out. Hang out while I'm putting episodes together. You guys can throw out suggestions, because now I can start going back and recycling a lot of slides, putting them together in new ways, now that we have the foundation of this thing covered. If it makes you feel any better, I keep track of my hours. I always have. I've put between 11, maybe 12,000 hours into this in the last 7 years. Since 2017-ish, I've put in 11, maybe 12,000 hours on this, putting all this together. There's a lot you guys haven't seen. There's so much you haven't seen, but it has paid off, because now I have it ready to present to people, even though I haven't presented all of it, and I won't. Not for some time. Probably never get around to all of it. But I have it to present if questions arise. So we'll hang out and you guys will help me put episodes together or whatever. Heisman's Brain. Angry Samoans. Rocky Erickson. Oh, Creepy Crawl. That's right. That's right. Right. And I'll tell you right now, there's a slide I skipped over. I skipped over a very important point. But it's about who actually introduced and when. Who introduced Giuffre and Ghislaine. Remember Jean-Luc Brunel? Remember him? Eric Hunley interviewed Manny. Rocky Erickson. Heisman's brain. Christoph Heisman. Christoph Heisman with a Z. Great spelling. Bavarian-born Austrian painter known for his autobiographically depicted demonical neurosis. The so-called Heisman case has been studied in psychology and psychiatry since the early 20th century, especially by Sigmund Freud und Gaston Vendendreicher. Born in Bavaria around 1651, little is known. Impoverished painter. When he lost a parent, he sold his soul to the devil to be his bound son for 9 years. After that, he sold... What? When he became anxious and made a pilgrimage to Mariazell, and after a successful exorcism, the Pactum blood was given back to him by the devil. As the demonic infestations continued, Heisman concluded that another exorcism was necessary to retrieve also the Pactum ink. That happened in 1678. Heisman painted several pictures of the appearances of the devil. After his neurosis became a brother hospitaler, he died in 1700 in Neustadt an der Metau in Bohemia. What? To preserve the details of the successful exorcism, a manuscript, partly in Latin, partly in German, was composed sometime between 1714 and 1729. Stop. Just when you think you know everything. Where's that clip? Where's that clip of Marshall McLuhan saying, he says, I don't read whole books anymore. I only read the right-hand side of the page. I don't read the left-hand side. He only reads half a book, and then he stops and he thinks and he tries to fill in the blanks for himself. Then he reads the next page. People thought he was crazy, but what he's talking about is what we today call autocorrect or autofill. Autofill is about anticipating. It's all about, Marshall McLuhan was the first one to experiment on this on his own brain. Okay? But he was the guy who sounded totally crazy in that Walter Cronkite documentary 50 years ago, when Marshall McLuhan said, the global village won't mean universal peace and harmony. The global village, he's talking about the internet and social media, means that everybody is all the way up in everybody else's business all over the world all the time. And he was and it sounded crazy, but he was 100,000% right. So what's this about his brain? What are you talking about? Oh, thanks, Sticky Marks. The first documented Faustian deal. But what are you saying about his brain? Heisman's brain opened up a big rabbit hole. Not that a YouTube chat is the perfect place to have a detailed discourse. We have 12 minutes left. I need to see what's going on here. I'm live now? Okay. It should switch over. I'm going to watch and see if it switches over. It should just automatically switch over to the live premiere. It's not giving me a warning. We'll see what happens. It may start. It may take a minute to get it started. Did that happen last time? But the live premiere is on a loop. It will play over and over all night long. Oh, don't panic. I got to read more of this. But he painted a bunch of pictures, and then there's a transcript of the exorcism. And Sigmund Freud analyzed this transcript and the paintings. I can't believe I never heard of this because, of course, we talk about Edgar Allan Poe and his descriptions of paintings and his descriptions of music. And we compare that to art from the time. Right? There was some kind of science fiction-y art coming out at the time. The Romantic period is the Romantic is very supernatural. The Romantic is the theory that the poet, the latter-day prophet, now called a poet, makes the weather. When the poet is sad, the weather is stormy and gloomy and rainy and dreary. When the poet is happy, the weather is sunny and pleasant. That idea of the poet making the weather. In the movie Groundhog Day, when he's arguing with that state trooper about going through this blizzard, he says, "I make the weather." That's a reference to Lord Byron. And, Byron wrote a lot about that in his poetry. The hero of the poem is the poet. And the poet makes his own environment. He's a prophet-like being. That's the Romantic. It's very supernatural. And other writers have also written on it. Okay. So what's the deal with the brain? Freud's work popped in the 60s, of course. Just in time for MK Ultra. So a psychiatrist analyzing this goings-on would be of interest to the CIA. That's for sure. The angry Samoans? You speak in riddles, Pat Thomas. People call me crazy. Well, there was no need to add drugs in the 60s, Pat Thomas. You do understand that Sigmund Freud invented the cokehead. I'm not kidding. Park Davis sent kilos of cocaine to neurologists and other doctors all over the world saying, "What do you suppose this is good for?" And they experimented on their patients and on themselves. And Sigmund Freud cured this guy of heroin addiction, opium, morphine addiction, using massive doses of cocaine. And the guy becomes hopelessly addicted to, mainlining cocaine. The first cokehead was created by Sigmund Freud. It was a big famous case. So they start prescribing cocaine to treat opiate addiction. And then years later, the truth comes out about this guy. He's worse than a junkie. Now he's a cokehead. And that was Sigmund Freud's fault. No, the drugs were not added in the 60s. LSD was known in the 1880s or 1890s. That chemist that got famous for discovering LSD was duplicating a recipe he found from 40 years previous. You know that, right? LSD had been discovered in the 1880s or 1890s by that same chemical company. They just had it in their files. Then there's no hints and letters between people that they were playing around with it. Yeah, then in the 60s we had drugs. My dad loved Cheech and Chong movies. And he said, well, you kids think you invented the pothead, the hophead? Because he had a brother who had buddies who were just like Cheech and Chong. Like he said, they were just like him, but a generation younger. So it's been going on forever. In the 60s, the drugs were added. And then they discovered sex. Listen, I was born in a cow town in Colorado, and there was a town, a ranch town. It was still just the ranch town. No town grew up around it. And this old saloon. And there were several of these old Cowboy Days saloons were still open. They had electric wires running stapled to the walls and the posts, and had converted to electric light. But otherwise, they were the same places. They were just old. And they had the old menu up on the thing. Mary Jane cigarettes, peyote buttons, Pop Skull, which was tequila infused with peyote, I think. I think I had magic mushrooms. There's nothing new about any of this. There isn't one new thing under the sun. Yeah, LSD was discovered a long time ago. And cocaine's a hell of a drug. Ayahuasca's a hell of a drug. What did I tell you? Aaron Rodgers was on ESPN or CBS Sports or something. Oh, he quoted me out of context. It's not what I said at all. Classic Karen Rodgers. I told you, Carl Denaro is a master of this. Say something, talk some shit, but then blame people for misinterpreting, because he leaves himself wiggle room. These are very carefully crafted statements. No one has ever accused Aaron Rodgers of just blabbering without thinking. He never does this. He never, ever does this. He did it on purpose. It's his thing. It's how he gets his... He does it for his... These are his jollies. Yeah, Hoffman was recreating... Hoffman's boss told him, make another batch of this stuff. They had it in company records. The recipe was in company records. And Hoffman was told by his boss... Hoffman was a chemist, not a chemical engineer. Hoffman just carried out steps. I need you to synthesize 50 grams of this, and I need you to do this process and see what happens. Okay, they were just like lab monkeys. So Hoffman's boss handed him this recipe and said, make a batch of this. We're going to test it. It was originally hoped it would be a treat. Get a load of this. Okay. Hysteria. hysteria and insanity supposedly caused by menstruation, right? And if you've ever been divorced, you know what causes hysteria. So these geniuses at that company, they noticed. I think they knew they've been researching folk remedies, and these wise witches made this tea and from nightshade or something, and it for PMS, to treat PMS. So they got the bright idea. They flipped through their files, and they had made a bunch of molecules back in the day, and they thought, well, maybe these, because there's a lot of different. There's LSD. The LSD everybody's talking about all the time, I think, is LSD 25. That lysergic acid could be, the LSD would be a cure for PMS. So Hoffman's boss told him, here's a bunch of recipes, these molecules, make some, and we're going to see what he does. PMS. And Hoffman was riding his bicycle home and started tripping balls. But he knew he was a chemist. He had, it's not the first rodeo. So he put shit together. He maintains long enough to go home, and he's taking notes, and he's kind of having fun with it. And I ate my sandwich, and I must have had some of this on, a tiny amount. And obviously it only took a very tiny amount. So they went back. That's when they started playing around with LSD as a psychotropic drug. But it was originally designed to be. Yep, there it goes. That's hilarious. Streaming.